Thank you, everyone, and a good afternoon. As mentioned, my name is Njoki Muthuri, and I run a company called Yeshara Tokens. We are regulated by CMA, and amongst the many ventures that I've done in my career, there's none that I've found as Yeshara that has proven demand even before we've rolled out our products.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Peter Miner, co-founder at Project Mocha. And at Project Mocha, we are creating alternative financing options for smallholder farmers by digitizing their coffee trees and assets and allowing everyone in this room to invest in a coffee farm in Kenya. Thank you.
Okay. Towards the theme of this conference, which is building Africa's financial infrastructure, a critical question that comes across many forums is, why is Africa so resource-rich but capital poor? Or rather, easier described in statements such as, we have a resource curse, or we have a paradox of plenty. As we dive onto the solution on which we'll discuss with Peter on blockchain, I think it's very important that we highlight what is the root cause of why our financial system is broken, and that's because of trust. This trust has been through various reasons, which are many of them are complex, but I'd like to hone in on 4 of them. One has been because of history and the structural challenges that we have as a continent. We all have to accept that we are a colonized economy and that we are built to be able to export raw materials to our colonized nations. What does that do? It ensures that we don't have any local linkages for local processing or manufacturing, therefore driving us into a path of dependency that our ancestors have gone through, that we are experiencing, and hopefully the next generations of Africans will not experience. We also experience unfavorable trade terms. How is this so? Where we are importing raw materials such as agricultural produce, minerals, and oil, and import expensive finished products. My first cup of coffee was not through a local grounded bean coffee. It was through an instant imported brand. And that was 20 years ago, and this is still happening in our local shelves. A second reason is due to governance, predominantly driven by our financial markets. How is this so? Our local capital markets are not really still driven. Majority of them in our African countries are still shallow and illiquid, meaning that once you start a business, having an access to loans or again, venture capital issuing bonds, it's really a challenge. So you're automatically locked out from traditional formal banking systems as well as the formal economy. We also face a major identity gap. How is this so? Majority of Africans, not just here in Kenya, are still facing access to formal digital identity documents. And what does that do? It's a very scary situation to note that this is linked to your verifiable credit score that now impacts how you're able to access your financial any sort of financial funding you may need for yourself as an individual or as a business. Again, there's also poor infrastructure on still unreliable roads, ports, as well as energy grids. What does that do when you're thinking about running your own business? That means your cost of business is going to be really high. Moving your goods logistically is still expensive, which makes your product uncompetitive, and also lack of integration to markets. Then as my earlier speaker mentioned on compliance, we are still receiving a very heavy coat of paint called high risk. What does that do? It makes our access to capital really, really expensive, and it also deters investment. I'd also like to highlight a point that I missed out on governance and institutional challenges. Some of the issues that we face, especially for FDI investments to increase in the country, is that how are contracts enforced? If an investor is not comfortable or secure in how the contracts will be enforced, or if his assets will be nationalized, we'll still have the same challenge of access to capital. So where does blockchain come and build or bridge this gap that we've mentioned on being really resource rich but capital poor? One is through the work that Peter and I are doing, both as rolling out tokenization of digital assets, but one is also on solving the identity gap. How does blockchain do that? With blockchain, you're able to create your own self-sovereign digital identity in which you're able to code your educational credentials, your transaction history, as well as your property rights. This will allow lenders to be able to access your credit score, in which it's very independent than the one that's issued by the government. That will allow these lenders to be able to de-risk previously unbankable individuals and businesses. There's also part of the work that I do running financial payments, which is facilitating affordable payments, as the earlier speaker, Maina, mentioned. How is that so? Use of cryptocurrency and stable coins in remittances and cross-border trade will significantly lower the cost. Our African cousins in the diaspora send out about $100 billion annually to the continent at a very high fee of between 8 to 9%. By utilizing the blockchain tools, this will significantly lower that cost of sending money, as well as ensuring that it's near instant in terms of the transfers. This will also allow settlement of trade between cross-border traders. Here locally, between the border of Kenya and Uganda, there's high trade activity, but majority of this trade is impeded by long settlement periods by the banks, as earlier mentioned by Maina, which can be solved by allowing stablecoin payments for settlement of goods and services. Additionally, I'd like to highlight how to curb corruption, as I had earlier mentioned, which makes really investments in the country quite expensive. Through blockchain, you are able to manage resource revenue. For instance, a payment made by a mining company to the state can be traced and logged in real time, allowing citizens and watchdogs to be able to track these flows. Additionally, on transparent supply chains, it would be great that when we talk about conflict-free diamonds or fair trade in coffee bean trade or agricultural produce, that finally the producers are able not to beg for premium pricing, but to actually command a premium for their goods. Lastly, it's to mention on unlocking capital through tokenization. The work that we're doing as Yeshara is really to converting the physical assets that we own, such as this building, or if it's a farm, such as what Peter will talk about, into a physical representation on the chain. How is this application going to impact you? One, through fractional ownership. Businesses such as Peter are able to raise liquidity from alternative investors such as yourself and not have to queue at the bank, which is still a traditional hard-to-access method. And second, the transparency that's brought in knowing the right of what you have bought, and that it's recorded in a digital ledger that cannot be muted, is also what Yeshara is driving in conjunction with CMA, that we are now going to be, as we roll out asset tokenization in the country, it's going to be rolled out in collaboration with the regulator to provide more comfort for the new investors who will either opt to put their assets on chain to unlock capital, or mainly to be able to provide access to previously segregated individuals who could not get into these type of asset classes, such as real estate.
I'm going to find out from him if he has this one. But
Pardon?
he has, okay.
Okay, I'll allow Peter to talk about Project Mocha and how tokenization has unlocked liquidity and capital for his business.
Okay. In the morning when I came here, seated there serving guys coffee,
Okay.
there are some conversations I was having, and fortunately I met 4 people who are actually coffee farmers. I hope in this room. One from Kakamega, one from Kisii, one from Githunguri, and the third one in Bondo. And I asked them, like, what are the main challenges that you face? And they gave me 4. First one was access to finance. Second was access to markets. Third one was access to quality inputs. And the fourth one was access to verified information. Okay, so I asked them, what are you doing with the access to finance and how are you accessing finance? So majority of them gave the same responses that a lot of the farmers I have conversations with is they can either go the banking route or the cooperative route. But in both of
This
this,
one.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So do you have the team here?
Yes.
The team is already here.
Yeah. Yes.
Israel
Yeah,
and then Tim.
Yeah, we even shared notes, and Peter, I've also seen Peter here.
Okay.
Okay, Peter, you can continue.
yeah.
He's sitting there.
Yeah, I hope my voice will be deeper and louder than his. So, yeah, but with this, either the cooperative route or banking route, majority of them still say that their assets are not recognized. And I love how Saruni mentioned about shares. So how both of us try to ideally simplify this conversation is we have companies like Kakuzi. Kakuzi is on the the Nairobi Stock Exchange, and you can buy shares into Kakuzi and earn a return for this. So what with tokenization and these assets are not just on the land, these are the trees. In our Project Mocha case, these are the trees that the smallholder coffee farmer has. These, by accounting standards, are biological assets, but they are largely unrecognized by traditional finance. By using this new technology such as blockchain, the farmer now has visibility, as Njoki has mentioned, on a digital ledger. So you can actually see this farmer is worth this amount, this is their assets, these are the coffee trees, and you can partake in the production of this farm. And the beauty about tokenization in Africa, as Njoki has mentioned, we are very asset rich but cash poor. Imagine the amount of liquidity we could unlock with tokenization. We are producers of coffee, we are producers of cocoa, we are producers of maize, we have diamond, we have tanzanite, we have oil. There's a lot of wealth in this continent, in this country that is unlocked, and we welcome everyone this opportunity, everyone in this room, to learn what blockchain can do for not just a country, but even for you as a business. You could be having a simple business. I've met people doing real estate, I've met some doing service provision. You can unlock capital by finding out how you can digitize your business, create a representation of the value that you're offering, and offer this to someone seated in Germany, someone seated in UK. As long as they have an internet access, they can invest in you or participate in the economic value that you're creating.
Thank you indeed. So as a conclusion, the capital gap that we are facing as a continent can be built by utilizing this toolkit of blockchain. As Peter has ascertained, that's how he was able to unlock capital when he couldn't get it from the traditional banking system. At Yeshara, we are enabling that with a circular economy where we are also inviting companies to build alongside our platform because it's CMA compliant. And next, that you're able to, we collect, as Christabel had earlier mentioned, a point like I'd like to highlight is that we are also adhering to very strict AML and CFT rules by the regulator. So as we roll out these digital tokens, as you purchase one or seek to get into the real estate market, this is the way that I believe we're able to rebuild this system that's been broken and ensure that the next generations of our cousins and brothers and sisters are going to not go into the path of the dependency route that we faced as a continent. To end, I'll just like to play a video of Yeshara, and that will be able to provide more highlights of what we do. Thank you. It seems there are technical sound challenges. Maybe you should have used blockchain for this. But thank you all for your attention.
And in my part, in short, the beauty about coffee is it's a physical product. So come have a conversation as you have served coffee. And we welcome you to walk this journey with us in unlocking the value that Kenya can give to the world. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. A round of applause for them. Thank you so much.